very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folarin. And so here we are. The election has taken place. Yes, there still are bits and pieces that we still have to clear up in terms of other elections that will be held. But I guess the big news is that all action is moving to the Collation Center, National Collation Center, from where we'll be getting results. I think in something like an hour from now, according to INEC, we'll begin to hear official results. My guest this morning is Mr. Yemi Makpadeonu, strategy and governance expert, and I know you would, there's no how, you would have concentrated on the elections like most Nigerians over the weekend. By and large, what one is hearing is that, it was commendable. It was a commendable effort. That is not to say that there were not issues here and there, but by and large, people say that it went pretty well. Would you agree with that?
Oh yes, I agree largely with the evaluation and the appraisals that have been given both by Nigerians and then also foreign observers about the conduct of the election. If you measure by all the parameters for measuring a successful polling, I would say that INEC did very well, and all the other stakeholders, including the observers, the monitors, the NGOs, the voters, did well largely, despite some of the infractions that we had in some parts of the country. Yeah. But when you consider the enormous size of the geographical entity called Nigeria, and for an event to take place simultaneously in 36 states and in the FCT, one could say with some degree of certainty and sense of responsibility that the election was commendably executed.
Yeah, especially bearing in mind the lack of cooperation from what has to be some political stakeholders. I'm talking here about incidents of unfortunate killings, ballot snatching, ballot box snatching, and well, it's like maybe one was being too optimistic. One would have thought that we'd left all of that kind of a thing behind us. But here we are in 2019 and we still have to experience this. Take the incident that happened in Lagos, where the Solo incident, and the first thing that would come to mind is how could what happened have happened considering security? But it did happen. Any comments on that? That there were those unfortunate, very ugly and unfortunate incidents?
Well, I think it is despicable that people will go out on election day, and even before elections, and hopefully not after these elections, to maim and kill, without trying to excuse what happened. I mean, it's unfortunate, it's sad if just one person dies, even by natural means, let alone, accidental or, concocted, killing. I think that those are isolated, really. That is not to say, we can't have a totally violence-free election. But that incidents and similar ones in some other parts of the country,
like Rivers State, for example,
like in Rivers especially, is not enough to discredit the entire exercise. But like I said, it's work in progress. These are some of the things that we need to work on, and I think it's largely an issue of law and order. You see, we've seemed to have this reign of impunity, which we are still trying to get out of our system. Otherwise, I think it is foolhardy for anyone, in broad daylight, to attempt, to snatch ballot box or ballot boxes in the full glare of the people.
Yeah.
Especially when we have entered into a period where people seem to believe that their votes count. You know, in the past, people will say, well, our votes don't count anyway. So now that people believe that their votes count, they may go the extra mile to want to protect, you know, that vote. And so it's becoming more and more dangerous to engage in electoral malfeasance, malpractices, especially on a polling day. So it's an unfortunate incident. Thankfully, we heard that the life that was lost is back. Well, apparently, you know, there must have been some misinformation about him dying. I guess people left him for dead. But it's heartwarming to know that the gentleman is alive, at least alive to face the law.
Yes, and there was a young lady, an ad hoc staff of INEC, that unfortunately, you know, paid the supreme price. You know, and call me simplistic, call me idealistic. It's like, because so much was said about how we need to conduct ourselves, all of the admonitions, all of the advice, the president, stakeholders, everybody, and then for people to still come out isolated, as you have said, but in some instances still come out to try in such a crude manner to affect. Who were they working for? On whose behalf were they acting? Why would people still think that in spite of all that had been said, we didn't have the resolve to rebuff this kind of a thing? I just don't know. It probably points to the whole desperation of some political, you know, players.
Well, again, like alluded to, maybe you were trying to be, you know, too idealistic, you know, in your expectation. But of course, we must proceed from the ideal, you know. But the truth of the matter is that whether it's in sociology or in psychology, you will always have a group of people who are referred to generally as deviant. Not that they are naturally, you know, deviant, but the fact is that in every society you will not find everyone complying with, you know, rules and regulations willingly, and that is why the element of law enforcement is there. So as much as we continue to work on reducing or totally eliminating the issues of violence in our elections, I think when they come in isolated manners like this, we shouldn't allow them to preoccupy us, and because we need to really focus on some of the bright side.
Indeed.
Yes, in our society.
Because as we've said, these were isolated incidents, but still, they happened and they are like blots, but not enough to compromise the entirety of the operation. As I said at the top, and as all Nigeria knows, will be Abuja will be the focus, the National Collation Center, where official results, as they come in, will be announced from Abuja. And I almost said our man. I guess all news people, all newsmen are men, but no, our lady, Lara Afolayan, she's in Abuja for us. Let's see what Lara can tell us. Hello, Lara, good morning. Set the scene for us, please. What?
This morning, because according to him, none of the resident electoral commissioners from the state or the scopes are the state collation officers for the presidential election, which are supposed to come in here with the results from their respective states. He said none of them was around, and so the collation has to be adjourned till 11 a.m. this morning. And I would say that the state is now set for collation to begin at the ICC. Already, the National Collation Committee members have taken positions. Some party agents are here seated in their respective seats, even though none of the scopes that the state collation officers for the presidential election and the resident electoral commissioners has yet to arrive. Some international observers have taken position. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, came in a while ago and he went backstage. And the media has also taken position ready to beam the results as they are being collated
live. Reports, unconfirmed reports that I got this morning has it that the resident electoral commissioner for Ekiti and the scope from Ekiti are around, even though that report, I'm yet to confirm that. Aside getting information on Ekiti that may be on ground, I'm yet to get any information on any other state that has arrived. And as I said earlier, the scopes, which are the states collation officers for the presidential election and the resident electoral commissioners from the states are yet to take position. The seats here are clearly tagged. For every stakeholder here, you know where you should sit. Some of the seats have already been occupied. I mean that for the party agents and international observers and the National Collation Committee. But that of the state collation officers for the presidential election and the resident electoral commissioners are yet to be filled.
Well, thank you very much, Lara. We'll join you as soon as we get the signal that there's any action over there. Thank you. So, well, Nigeria is waiting, and but there are some situations that we're not waiting for. Since it was not just the presidential, it was also a National Assembly election as well, and some results have begun to come out. I suppose one of the highlights, I don't know, depends on who you are and where you are sitting. Some upsets. Senate President Saraki crashed out of the election. I don't know if that was expected or not. And there are names, some have won. First of all, about Saraki, did that surprise you?
It wasn't so much of a surprise, but I would say that I wasn't expecting him to lose his seat, in the Senate and lose, the way he did, because he lost in all the, 4 local governments that constitute, Kwara Central. An icon that he is, I expected that even if he loses some ground, he will be able to protect his immediate constituency and retain his seat. But then it's not so much of a surprise, because when you view it from the backdrop of the recent by-election in Kwara State, it was almost unprecedented for a candidate not supported by the Saraki dynasty to win an election, defeating the candidate of the Saraki dynasty. And when I say the Saraki dynasty, I'm not limiting it to Olushola Saraki. I mean, Bukola Saraki.
Yes.
I mean, it's unheard of, that someone will win an election in Kwara State without the support of the Saraki. So that already prepared, a groundswell for people to begin to expect anything in this election. And so, for me, let's see what other big fishes, will go the way of Saraki or retain their seat.
In fact, my producers are telling me that we actually have a package, relating to what we're talking about. Maybe we should just take that.
Ibrahim M APC 101 2 3 808 1 2 3 808 123,808 A Olubukola M PDP 68994 68,994. Yahaya Ibrahim of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
We'll be getting these inserts, just keeping you updated. Our man Olawakon is in Lagos. I think he's at the Lagos Central Senatorial District. Let's go over there now.
And Now, these are the results according to the parties. A 338, 338. AA.
Okay.
300.
Something with the signals there. We'll sort that out. But our man Ola Wakon, I imagine, is standing by, and probably, I don't know. Can we speak with Ola? Okay. Well, as I said, as soon as we can get the signal, we are getting the signal, but it happens now and again, this staccato thing. But it's moving. I think we might just clear most of the results for elections that have been conducted up in pretty short order. I don't imagine. What's your guess as to how long this might take? Talking about the elections that have been concluded.
Well, I think for states other than Rivers, Zamfara, I think to some extent Plateau and Anambra, most of the National Assembly election results should by now be ready. And I imagine that many of them most of them will be announced, today, pari passu the presidential election results that can only be declared, in Abuja. It's been declared in the state at the local government level, even the presidential election results. They were all declared from the polling units up to the state level. But only the INEC can declare the presidential election officially. But for all other elections, I mean, some of them have been decided already. In Ekiti, for instance, the senatorial and national assembly election results are all in. The INEC chairman alluded to this fact himself when he said the resident electoral commissioner and the returning officer for Ekiti were on their way, to Abuja. In Osun, a few have also been announced. I think one or two senatorial results have been announced, and about 6 House of Representatives seats have also been announced. And in other parts of the country, like in Niger, in Katsina, some senators have been returned, while some have lost, their seats. We have an idea of how this played out, but we might not be in a position to begin to mention those that have not been officially announced.
Because really only INEC can announce these results officially. There will be mischief. The social media is what it is. People will just be doing what they want. But I suppose most reasonable, right-thinking members of the public will know that this is nothing but mischief, and we have to wait. We just have to play it by the rules and wait for INEC to actually tell us what's going on, what the results are. And that, as I said, we'll be going over to Abuja as soon as we get the signal from there. 11, even though our lady over there, our reporter Lara Ofalayo, was telling us that still a bit slow at the moment, but then it's been a real long haul. It's been a real long haul for all of them. I saw Governor Seriake Dixon complaining bitterly and even, calling on INEC to cancel some elections, what he referred to as purported elections. So these again go to, as we are saying, that generally speaking, it was a well executed operation, but still there are these isolated pockets of complaints which probably have to be addressed.
Yeah, my concern is that as isolated as they are, there seem to be, a concentration of most of these incidences in the south of Nigeria, particularly Rivers, Bayelsa, and Delta. And I think, this is an election, fine. The National Assembly elections went pari passu the presidential. So one may not say, oh, this is an election between two northerners. Why is it causing so much, fracas in other parts of the country? But there are also local, politicians who are contesting National Assembly elections. But I think that for political researchers, it's important to find out exactly why elections cannot be held, peacefully in rivers, in particularly, and to a lesser extent in Bayelsa and Delta. You recall the 2016 governorship election in Bayelsa, which had to go on for practically 2 weeks before we could get a result of the election in a state that is the smallest in the country with 8 local governments, because of the sheer amount of violence that greeted that election, both before, during, and after. The same thing in Rivers. There are some 2015 National Assembly elections that remain inconclusive in Rivers State. And this is another cycle of elections. So,
okay, let's go back to, sorry to interrupt, okay. Let's go back to Amanola Awapon. I think the signals are clear now.
That I am the returning officer for the Lagos Central Senatorial District election held on the 23rd day of February. That the election was contested, that the candidate received the polling votes. 1, in no particular order. Akiyemi Oluwa. The name of the party is A, that is by acronym. As a total of 338. 338. Number 2, Jawando Nuruddin Omotayo. The party is AA, has a total score of 392. 392. Number 3, Emerenini Kenneth Chukwe Mebuka Me ACD 376 votes. 376 votes. Number 4, Sumanu Latif Adigo Me ADC 1,949. 1,949. $1,120. Number 6, Tinubu Oluremi Sade Female APC 131,725. 131,725. Number 7, Adu Omolola Kolade Female CAP 219. 219. Number 8, Ogowewo Olugbemisola Olufunke Female DA 134. 100. vote. Number 10, Oyinbo Patricia Nedima. Female, ID, a total vote of 84. Total vote of 84. Number 11, Oladotun Alaba Olaripe. With a total vote of 101. 101. Number 12, Pariola Rofina Olamide. Female, MPN. Total vote of 1,134. 1,134. Number 13, Onitiri Adesunbo David. May, PDP, 89,107. 89,107. The last but not the least, number 14, Bajulaye Omogbenyi Omowumi Agbeke. Female, PT, 183. 183 votes. That Tinubu Oluremi Sade of APC, having satisfied the requirement of the law and scored the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Well, so there you have it. Lagos Central results announced there, as we are waiting for other results, and principally, the presidential as they come into the Collation Center in Abuja. There are a lot of things going on. If you just it looks like this. I don't know if these are pictures of Abuja. As in fact, it is Lagos Central. This is in the aftermath. Well, not so much aftermath, but this is immediately after the calling of those results. Again, not to be emphasizing the negative, but still needing to mention it so that we know the dimensions that we are operating within. The army is reported to have recovered machine guns and assorted arms from some thugs, just going to show that in spite of all their efforts, because one is not going to deny that these things happen, in spite of all their efforts, still was a largely, well-executed operation. But machine guns, burning fires. There is a determination that this will succeed. This operation will succeed, but it's not as if everybody was cooperating with INEC. So INEC probably was under no illusion that it was going to be a walk in the park. Do you think they were as prepared as they could have been?
Well, if you want to measure the performance of INEC generally, side by side other public institutions in Nigeria, then you are bound to give INEC thumbs up, especially since the 2015 election, maybe even since 2011, because progressively we have seen how our elections have gotten to be more credible, with fewer litigations post-election, less violence and rancors on announcement of elections because the system has been opened up. The winners already knew they won. They're just waiting for formal announcement. The losers already knew they didn't make it. And so there is a way that the shock element is removed. When results are announced at the polling unit level, at the ward level, at the local government level, all you need to do is to go and sum up what you have in all the polling units. And you already have a clear idea whether you're winning or you're losing. So that more or less tempers, some emotions. But then, even at that, there are those who see elections as war. Otherwise, we shouldn't be seizing cachet of arms, meant possibly, for causing mayhem and
Yeah,
violence.
of course.
Because Nigeria, I mean, such weapons are meant to be brought in by the Nigerian military or the police. But these are being found, in possession, in the hands of businessmen, politicians.
Exactly, and paradoxically, there are those who say it's something of an abomination to see the military out on election day. But I don't know where we'd be without them.
We've heard that over and over again. But
and the police were unarmed.
Look, we have always the ideal situation. Everybody wants to just go out, vote without even seeing a policeman, But the peculiarity of Nigerian situation,
yes,
you do not, before election, say we don't want to see military, even the police should not be armed. And then when elections hold and violence erupts, you keep asking, where was the military? Yeah. Where was the police? So we must be sure what we really want. And our leadership must, in fact, I think it's more or less, a leadership thing. Let the leadership make up its mind that this is the right thing, and it doesn't matter what people say. At the end of the day, they will see the benefit of all of that. Otherwise, I heard people talking now about, well, maybe we should review the issue of policemen not carrying arms. If they had been armed, some of these issues that happen in polling units would not have happened. So we must really understand that there is no one way to doing things. We must look at our environment and then profile solutions
that is going forward,
that will work for your environment.
Yes.
It's needless saying this is how it's done in America. I mean, for those who lived abroad or who travel abroad frequently and observe some of these things, the pictures people paint here is not the way it really is. I mean, I've had people saying, why do you need ballot papers? Why do you need ballot boxes? Even in the United States, people leave their homes to go to the polling unit to vote. We have had incidences where there were questions about the credibility of elections, and we've had a recount. If you didn't have ballot papers, what are you going to count? So people must be properly educated that there is no El Dorado anywhere. We must look at our environment and do those things that will work for us. It's going to be a difficult one, what you've just said, because as you said, one knows the ideal, but then we have to deal with the situation that we are actually living in. And as the election was drawing near, and all the stakeholders, the president, all the contestants, they came together to keep the peace and just make this, what it should be. But it struck me that what we were doing all that time was that we were sort of trusting in the reasonableness of our people. We were almost like preaching to them. This is wrong, don't do this. I don't know the extent to which we expect people to behave the way they should in our environment simply because they've been admonished, they've been preached to. Clearly, some of those isolated incidents show that some people were always going to go their way anyway. So I don't know, if there's no deterrent, if there's no deterrent, no deterring force, whether people will then do the right thing, as for instance, not go out and burn anything, burn polling stations, not go and snatch ballot boxes. I don't know. You said it. We have to make up our minds what we want. It's in the nature of humans to want to do those things that please them. I mean, let's go back to the,
Yeah,
let's go back to the story of
that's
creation.
why society has laws.
That's what,
So you can't do what you want.
That's where I'm coming to. Let's look at the story of creation. For those who believe in it, God created Adam, created Eve for him, and said, "Don't do this." But they did it. But they lived with the consequences after, and we are living with the consequences.
Thank you very
today.
much, and forgive me for interrupting your story right there, because I hit on the word consequences. That's another problem. There are commentators that are saying that, look, one of the reasons why things continue to happen is that there are no consequences, at least the way we see it, until just ordinary people like you and I, then there might be consequences because there are no connections. But you find situations where abominations like that occurred, and in fact some allege that some perpetrators from even the last election, nothing has happened to them.
I was coming to that historically, we do not have records of, prosecution and conviction of electoral offenders. In fact, I remember that there is a currency now that let's have electoral offenses tribunals. Let's have special courts to treat electoral offenses. In my mind, we don't need a special court for that. I think what is important is when law and order prevails. And the only way law and order will prevail is for people to know that when they commit crimes, when they breach the law, they will be caught, and then there will be consequences. Look, when you see law and order in some countries of the world, it is not because those people are innately orderly.
Yeah. Not because they're nice guys.
It is because they know in their mind, even when they can't see a policeman watching, they know that something is watching, and that even if they commit that thing and leave that scene,
there will be consequences.
They will be caught.
Excuse me, let's go back to Lara Afolayan in Abuja, for an update to see if the place is filling up. So, hi again, Lara. Give us the latest situation report.
Okay, it's a minute past 11, and considering what time the collation was adjourned to yesterday by the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, collation should have started now. From all indications, it doesn't appear collation will start anytime soon. I said earlier that I saw the chairman of INEC come into the hall and he went backstage, and I also went to the National Collation Committee's segment of the hall to find out what states may have arrived, because the seat which has been reserved for the resident electoral commissioners and the scopes, which are the state collation officers for the presidential election, is yet to be filled. And information I got from there is that Ekiti State may have been the only state that has arrived as at now, and that Ekiti arrived yesterday. And some dignitaries have also been arriving. I saw earlier the Comptroller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, arrived all a while ago. I also saw the Minister for Interior, Abdurrahman Dambazao. He also arrived the hall a while ago. More observers are coming in and more party agents are coming in. But now, what basically constitutes the hall at this moment are just the observers, the party agents, and the media, and a few dignitaries that have arrived the hall, and also security agents. And we'll have our fingers crossed, hoping that the collation will indeed start soon.
Thank you very much, Lara. We'll keep on touching base with you right until it begins to flow from the National Collation Center there. We'll link up with you again. And talking of which, I think
I need to quickly say something about Lara's report.
Sure.
You see, it speaks to the values that we place on time in Nigeria. You see, you told the whole world that the Collation Center will reopen at 11 a.m.
Yes.
Now, by 11 a.m., even if you don't start the announcement of result, proceedings should have, in fact, you should have sat.
Everybody should have been seated.
You see, those are some of the things that we need, missing links, in the way we do things in Nigeria. With this kind of behavior, when you tell people 11 o'clock the next time, they will say, well, probably won't start till 12. And so at the end of the day, everybody imbibes this culture of late coming. This program was scheduled for 10:30. It started at 10:30. I think it's only the media people and possibly the military that, that respect time in Nigeria.
Well, exactly. You know, time is money. Time is money, and and things are placed at particular junctures. So there's a much more business-like approach to time. Joking only slightly, because if a commercial is coming in at 10 o'clock, then it's going to be at 10 o'clock. If it's 10 past 10, it has to be at 10 past 10, and everything else has to sort of give way for that. So I see the point that you're making. You announced to the world. And this is a theme that has continued. There's a sense in which people even turn it into a positive as part of how we do what we do. Because I heard stories of the patience of people who were going to perform their civic duty. They were not going to be disenfranchised. When INEC, when they were late, you know, operations that should have started, polling operations that should have started at 8 o'clock didn't start in some cases until 2 hours later, in some cases more. People were patient, and we were saying that, you know, with some sort of spirit of commendation, that our people waited. And
well, but I'm not sure anybody commended the operators for coming late.
no, not the operators.
Yeah, I understand, but for the people, yeah,
yes,
because they were going to be the beneficiaries of the process. So they said, well, whatever it takes, we're going to stay here. I remember being on your show last week, and I said that there are some that traveled for the botched, or well, suspended, you know, February 16 elections.
Because it wasn't conducted, so it wasn't botched.
It wasn't botched, so it was just
Yes.
so. But that will stay back even if it takes a month for the election to, you know, to be rescheduled.
I hear there's a phone call coming in. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to contribute. I'm calling from London.
Okay.
Yeah, the major problem we are still having in this election is that some parties, especially ruling parties, they try to force themselves in areas they know that they are not popular, they are not they don't own. There's something known in politics as a domain of a particular party. But when you go
Paul,
to
Paul,
there will be problems.
excuse me,
like,
Paul.
Look at the problem.
Paul, you're calling from the UK. You're calling from the UK, Paul. You're so far away. You don't know what's going on. So why are you making those kind of statements, Paul? You're calling from the UK. You don't know what's going on. You depend on reports of maybe your friends. Maybe. Why are you speaking as if you actually know what's going on, Paul?
No, it's not a question of what's going on. Nobody is there. Nobody is there. Excuse me. Nobody is there. We all depend on reports.
Then we have people on the ground, Paul. We have people on the ground. And so when you make a statement like that, you have to be able to back it up.
You cannot win. It's wrong in politics.
Okay.
There will always be problem when such a situation arises. There will always be problem.
Okay.
If you know you cannot win convincingly in a particular place, don't commit trouble there. Don't go there to people are losing their lives. We are just overlooking all those things, talking all that.
We're not overlooking.
You talk on where are you people forcing yourselves where you cannot win?
Which are the people? Which are the you people? You see, that's
the politicians. The politicians.
Okay.
The parties. If you know you cannot win this area, don't go and cause trouble there. You are killing people for nothing.
Okay. All right. Thank you for calling in, Paul, but you didn't put it like that in the first instance. You said the ruling party was doing this and that was the only thing that, look, if you're going to say that, in as long as you can back it up with credible reports, okay. But then I think I like where you ended up, that politicians generally are making the job a lot more difficult than it needs to be. If you say that, I don't think I would have interjected. So thank you, Paul, for calling in. And that's another thing. Commentary, the way it's coming in, clearly people have ideas of who they are supporting, and who they want to, emerge victorious. But we still have to be careful. The results are going to be we'll get the results from Abuja. But I guess we have to wait for those results. And all the players signed or or identified with a memorandum of understanding that we will accept whatever result comes out, so far as it is seen to be fair. And all the principal players by and large have been saying that they're satisfied with the conduct of this election, which does not mean that they didn't observe that it could have been better in certain instances, but nothing to sort of wipe out the election as a sham.
Well, you see, like I said, I mean, these are issues for study. When you look generally at the attitude of Nigerian politicians, at times, because I know a few of them that are really, really reasonable people, but it does appear that the picture, the perception out there is that politicians approach elections with a
do or die affair.
Yeah, do or die, life and death, and a win at all cost, approach. And so that is the major catalyst for the violence that we see. I agree entirely with Paul that politicians are desperate. But I will not agree with him that if you are not strong in an area, then you will leave that place. No. Even in marketing, business, what you want to do is you want to get as much share of the market as you can get. So there is the same approach by politicians, but they must do it within the ambit of law and reasonability.
And I think that's it. But we have another caller, and I think we lost that particular caller. That was a local call. Well, local in terms of we're in Lagos, southwest of the country, but it was coming from Taraba, so it's within Nigeria. We
used to call it trunk.
Trunk call. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of commentary on this because there's going to be analysis of the results when we see it. Indeed, as you said, nobody can announce any of the results, but at the centers, they were publicly counted. And so people have something of a general idea of the way it's going, where it has been completed. But again, I don't know if that's enough for people to begin to conclude whether it's been a tight or a not so tight race. But these are commentaries that we begin to hear. Everybody putting their own spin on things.
Before the election, there were a lot of permutations and projections. And I also know that some politicians even paid people to conduct polls and the rest of them. But the reality is dawning on us. And like I said, what I like about this system is that it has reduced, our electoral system now, it has reduced tension. Because this is Monday. I can tell you for free that even at the presidential election level, the candidates, the 73 candidates in that election already know how they performed.
Okay, and we got a call coming in from Ilorin, I believe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jimo in Ilorin. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. The problem with our electoral process in Nigeria is that most of us are not sincere. We are not sincere with ourselves. Both the electorate, both the politicians, the journalists, we are doing ourselves. Because in the sense that even though the way the journalists will report some events that happen in some places, we are politicians, the incumbent governor or the strong stakeholder at that place have that power. They will not report that chief. That's our problem. And a lot of people too, when they want to comment, they will comment sentimentally. So we all know how the politics didn't play out in this country. Let me start an instance for you.
Okay.
When in Kogi, I was in Kogi the last that's 2015 election. Do you believe that in some area where there are some even local politicians that are very strong, they will subject everybody in that area to vote for them? Even when security, depending on security men, they will look other way. So you don't have that cities, like when you are in city, you know, where everybody covers you and you think everybody is looking at you, you know, they will look, you know, everybody will like to do their work there. But in some local area, in some local government that, even though the journalists might not go there, there are a lot of things that is happening there.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so that's just what.
Thank you very much for calling in, Jimo. Appreciate your call. Okay, Jimo is not happy that even, according to him, even reporters, journalists, I suppose that will be ameliorated to some extent by the fact that nowadays, unlike before, there's live coverage. That's the whole purpose, so that you yourself can see what the reporter is seeing, and then the reporter now adds stuff based on the fact that he's on the ground, and there are other things that might not be visible that put perspective and context to what he's saying. But by and large, we see it together now with the new news media. Am I getting another caller? Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning to Mr. Mampedero.
Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, first and foremost, I want to advise the users of this election to be using the channels that belong to them. I'm advisedly using that sentence. Let them call channel television, let them call AIK, let them call Sibabel, let them call all those other stations that do not allow us to call them and contribute to what they discuss there. The news is all the allegations that they are enumerating here. Why are they not saying the same thing in areas where their preferred candidate won? I've been following the results. Uncle Yori, let me leave that one aside, Gary. What has pleased me most in this result is the after of Saraki from the Senate. It will return sanity to that house. It will return honor to that house. It will return dignity that what made Nigerians to call it hallowed chamber. It will make it to return to that house. I've been feeling ashamed when I go outside this country and people see what happens in that chamber, and I identify myself as a Nigerian.
Well,
that is the first major victory that I'm very proud of. Because of him alone, I asked my wife to prepare special coffee for me. So as I'm talking to you now, I'm drinking that coffee.
Oh dear. They say one needn't rejoice when a man is down.
So, Uncle Yori, the average person that supports any candidate in this election already has an idea of the results on ground. I do, but I will not pronounce them here.
Of course.
The truth of the matter is that people will always complain when something does favor them. Where is the place in this country where elections are held without any infringement? It's a survival of the fittest. You must take it to all the press, especially, I told you before, 95% of the press, all the elite, all the former governors, all the former presidents, all the elites were against one particular candidate. And he's flooring them in all the places. Now they are crying. Don't let them use your station to cry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. Mr. George in a light, sort of humorous mood this morning.
Well, I was actually going to say before Mr. George came on, in response to the last
guy,
Paul
caller, from the UK.
Yes, that and then to add to your response, is the fact that you now have multiple channels now.
Yeah.
For getting reports. So when there's a level you get to, and you know that this news is being reported from a slanted perspective to suit a particular purpose. It's okay, but you owe yourself a responsibility to also get the other perspective, and that is what I was telling a brother yesterday about politicians in the northern part of Nigeria. There are some people, they will tell you, this is my newspaper. That's the only newspaper they read because they like what they see there. But you need to know what the other man is also thinking.
Indeed.
You need to know what the other man is also thinking. They try to make sure and engage the mood generally. And that is why some of us, we have a perspective and we think that perspective represents the global perspective.
Let's see if I can squeeze in Abdul Rahim, if I got that right, in Kaduna. Good morning. Abdul Rahim. Abdurrahim, can you hear us in Kaduna?
Yes.
Okay, good morning. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Quickly, please.
Uh-huh. So I don't know where to start from, but I would like to tell you that this is a big, terrible, and dirty slap to the nationwide face, particularly to the INEC. They have postponed the election last week, and they postponed the start of the collation yesterday, and up to now they did not start.
Yeah.
So I think they have to prepare well before they pick the next time for the postponement at the first time.
Okay, Abdul Rahim, you're saying that we can get better moving forward. Moving forward, keep to times, whatever.
Yes.
Whatever. Okay. Noted. Thank you very much. Exactly the thing that Yemi said in studio here, that the whole world has been told 11 o'clock. And here we are, it's almost 11:30, about 27 past 11 now, and it hasn't happened, but maybe it was logistics.
Hey.
So
Look, right now,
we got to round up now, but just briefly.
right now, the status of the chairman of INEC is similar to that of the president of the country. In fact, they say he controls the security now for this period of election. So for him to get to that center to begin at 11 o'clock is not too much asking, especially because he fixed the time.
Okay then. All right. So we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Yemi Mapaderon, strategy and governance expert. And we're going to leave you now. We're moving over to Abuja. Not yet, I am told, but as soon as there is anything to move over for, because you just so that Mr. Paul in the UK, for instance, will see it. It's live reporting, so it's a sort of, you will observe it and then we'll put it from here. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I think we'll be continuing with election matters. I'm Yori Fulani. Bye bye for now.